Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Hello, everybody. Hi, hi, Momo, Ryan, babe. Welcome in. Hi, everybody. We're gonna play some DBD with Ryan. Um, yeah. Hopefully, we do better than I did yesterday. I was doing so poorly yesterday. Ali, 27 times Ali. That is insane. I cannot believe it. Can you believe it? Ali. Is Ali short for something? Is it like Allison? Um, Honestly, that's the only name I could think of. Money magic in the 60s. Ronnie, family over. Is it D&D night? Be honest. I'll have the best D&D night. Thank you so much, Ronnie, for stopping in. Get your check in before you go, please. Oh, LMAO, Ronj. Ronj. Ali in my phone is Ali, not Allison. Ooh. Yes, 25 times. Ronnie, you're up there with the 20s. What was Ryan's? I think Ryan's in the 20s too, right? Yeah, Momo's only 14. Ryan's 20. Ryan just hit 20. 30 stream streak? Hello. What you mean 30 streams? Okay, I leave. Bye bye. Have a good night. Alright. We're listening to Slater all night, by the way. Rosa. If Rosa promises not to sandbag me, I just might. Or we all agree to sandbag each other and then we can do it. Guys, I've been really obsessed with this album. Y punto. Exactly. Y punto. So I didn't do it earlier. Yeah, yeah, we have to make up for it from last time. Julian, welcome in. Monte is here. Holy Monte. To what do I owe the pleasure? Ria, all the friends. Everybody get your check in. Yes, exactly. Ryan, you just made 20 stream streak. Also Ryan, I'm in my VC on Discord if you want to just jump in there. If unless you don't want to, then we can just chat through text chat. We love balance in life. Like sometimes you got to give a little sandbag to get a little four out. You know what I mean? Little altruism. Monte, how are you doing, friend? I hope you're having a great Saturday. I hope everyone's having a great Saturday. We ate some bomb ass Vietnamese food, and there's leftovers in the fridge. So excited. I'm just Ria. My Pia's got new blinds phobia. Did I get that right? Wait, Ria, do you have new blinds? Leon, how's your weekend so far? How's everybody's weekend? What did everybody get up to today? You did it! I learned how to read, friends. I learned how to read. The maintenance people replaced all the blinds in our apartment. We have to sit out for a couple matches, just on the phone. Yeah, period. No worries. No rush. I'm fine playing solo. But I know I mentioned earlier like we could play, so just whenever you're ready, you can totally join. Pancake tomorrow. The meetup. We love the meetup. W Pancake. Send her my regards. And she's gonna smack pancakes spot for me. Oh, I can join matches, but not VC. Okay, bad. Sounds good. My weekend has been good. How has yours been? Honestly, today was a lazy day, but I did clean up a little. I tidied up my apartment a little. Had some bomb breakfast. Um, then we went to dinner. I love how I would jump for breakfast and dinner, but it's literally because we didn't do anything today, but like kind of raw. A lot of horizontal gaming. Playing Pokopia now that I have all my powers unlocked. Let's see. No! Look. Video evidence. Thatch. Big ass burrito. Now I'm sadly back to cleaning. Okay, period. Thank you for the lurk. Thank you for the lurk, Ria. Yeah, can you post pictures of the kitties on Discord? Remember how I was like, I'm a rot and game, and then I went to Target for cat treats and ready their room and driving tomorrow. Period. I love that. Is DVD messing up for Switch players? Right now, the Switch cross-platform, like party compatibility is down, and it's because of the update. The same thing happened with 2v8. And Mark's on Switch, so he's using my Switch to play, and we wanted to get games in to have a little squad. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, he can't join our games. Yuna dancing. Oh my god, relevant. Okay, I lurked now. Have a good stream. Okay, thank you so much, Julian. It was good to see you. Come back as soon as you can. We will be here. We'll be here for a while. We just started. Oh, rip. Yeah, I know. Nintendo said, y'all could wait. Y'all could wait a week. But they could play the event. Like, Mark's been playing the event, but he can't join my games. Like, we weren't able to play together. Oh, freaking updates breaking shit. I know. And I'm pissed I can't get Aurella's hair until like for 5 days. Cheeky. They knew what they were doing. They're like, we want people to wait. They're well eat. Okay, yes. I'll be watching, period. Thank you so much, Momo, for being here and getting first. That's crazy. You're a real one.
There are really odd things about this place.
On the trigger. To do killer matches to speed through. Yeah, but even doing, I've done all my killer matches, and you still have to wait 5 days to do it to get her thing. It's like all my matches. I have all my quests done. You only have 9, and to get Aurella's thing, you have to have 12 done or something. It's crazy. They tricked us. They tricked us to play this thing for 5 extra days. Like, I played all my killer matches. I did it in like 2 matches. Sure. Alright, I'm gonna go work on another one, guys. We We can't all be working on the one. There's 3 gas pumps over here, by the way. Oh shit, wrong way, guys. Okay, I'm new here. Well? Well? How's that feel? I didn't know where he was. Light porn. What a freak of nature. What a freak of nature. And oh! Dog, why did I? Her body went flying. Hold on. Will they leave? Don't come down here, girl. Thank God. Nice, Ryan. You motherfucker, please. Déjame un paz. Well, yes. At least the girls got out. Everyone's healed. That's fine. It's okay, Wesker. I just wanted to dance with you, sir. It's okay. You guys got the reset. That's kind of important. I was locked in, but honestly, seeing Elodie's body fly across my screen was insane. My hero, Ryan. Okay, he's coming right the fuck back here. Yeah, stop you. Oh, he actually got you. Does he go for kill? He goes for kill. No, he doesn't go for kill. Okay. Come here, 11. Please, rub my back. Nice try, Ryan. I knew it was up there too. Up there. Oh, I'm sorry. Go, go, go. Can you go get Hook, please? Look at these worms on my back. Why is he camping you? Hey. Oh, thanks. Yeah, go help our teammates. Camping you for a second Hook is crazy. Is it because the LOD is over there? 11, you have to go over there. My friend's in danger. Nice. I cannot believe you're on second Hook. Ryan, I can help you. Oh, no. There you go. There's a spray there. This is calm. This is calm. It's just 2 gens. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy. Just that you have to walk to every gen like this. Did Wesker come down this way? This doesn't even fill it up, by the way. I'm gonna go get Hook. Oh, he's coming this way. Oh, shit. I need to save my life. How did he still reach? The window's closed. Window? Window. Ah! How did he get out of there? So quick. Dude. This is so tough. GG's. He went through the house. No! You guys got this. Well, that's not. That gen in the middle of the street is like 70 done. Ryan, in front of the school. Like where I was healing you. I was the obsession. He was obsessed. He was obsessed. Alright, Ryan. You're the star. I'm a star! Nice. Fixated is a good perk to have on right now. Maybe I should put on Fixated. Nice. I love that. LED the go. Oh, there was nothing in it. Ryan, the gen out there on the street is also has some progress on it. I don't know if that one's done, was the one that was done. It might have been the one finished. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Good try, 11. Good try. LED somehow escaped that chase. He's right above you. Why did I scream? I'm sure you jumped because we were not looking that way. Like, where did you come from, sir? Ryan, run. Good ball. Wow, he just put the tentacle back. LED, please. Save my boy. Save my friend. Save the cat. Make her. Good try. Yes. We're running in a circle. There's a hook right there, sir. There's a hook right there, sir.
Let's finish this.
Now, Wesker, you didn't have to pick her up to do all that, okay? You could have done that from the beginning. GG's, Ryan. That was incredible. He had no joy and/or whimsy in his heart. He couldn't handle you. I'm gonna put fixated on for that very reason, just to be able to just. I think I'm gonna take off inner strength actually. You had 20% haste. Like what? Naked streaking. Oh my god, dude. Lucas, how are you? I'm so sorry I could not play today. I was really excited to play, so we should still plan it, but Fixated Eats for the fast walking. Yeah, I'm just gonna put Fixated on and call it a day. Lucas, how was your stream? Are you still streaming? I saw you were streaming Cult of the Lamb, but I was just about to start, like, go live. Ghosted me today. It wasn't. No, I didn't ghost you. I canceled. Was it cutting close? Yes. It was like 30 minutes before. But I didn't ghost you. I told you. I was like, hey, I can't play. No, I'm kidding. No. I'm just I'm defending myself, my honor. You know what I mean? But I would be totally down. And like I said, like if you ever, even if you're not streaming and you're like, hey, I want to play with some friends, like, and you put a thing out on your Discord, if I'm free, like, I'll totally join up and play Jackbox or whatever. I think I'm gonna start doing that in my Discord too, is like making like alerts if I'm playing offline and if anybody wants to play, to like let me know. Just so people know if I'm on or not. Oh,
Really odd things about
this looks like one of these is not like the rest. Also, Luke get Gremlin, I literally had that same combo. Well, not the hair. I'll have to see if I can get a lot of hard yeses. Yeah. Maybe like way in advance so people know to like be free. It's hard to do that like way in advance though. Well. Come to find out. Everybody, 8, 8. The more advanced you do it, the more likely people are to forget. Really interesting. That's interesting to know. How are you doing, Dives? How are you feeling? All right, we're totally gonna make it out of this one, right, Ryan? It's a game squad. Like, I mean, there must be a respect. Respect the order. You know what I mean? Oh! Everyone in the chat is queer. I'm convinced. Not the hound. I don't want this. I hate. 2 minutes ago it was 2 a.m. Now it's 3 a.m. Oh, do you have is your daylight savings this weekend? Interesting. And you're in the Netherlands, right? Lucas. Also, how's Cult of the Lamb? Has anyone else died? Am I dead? Am I still being devout? How are you? Well, I asked you first, not Dives, but I won't be rude. I am good. How are you? This needs a little bit more blood. We should all stand in a line and do a dance, like a little striptease for her. Oh. Damn, she's zooming. She is zooming. I am vibing, thriving, flourishing. 2 died. 1 resurrected. You died of old age? Oh no! I died of old age? Damn, how old was I? I feel like I was only days old. No, I'll have to. Can I be reincarnated? I did bury you. I'm glad I got a little ceremony, you know? Oh, this is not. She is speedy. She is speedy. She is zooming across the map and such. Like, can we get a speed check? How are you doing, Dives? How was your day? What were you up to today? Like 50? I was 50 and I died? It's horrible. I can resurrect you once I unlock it. Okay, bet. But I prefer to kill and resurrect Matt first. Yes! He's the one that left, and he was my gold pooper. Oh, Matt left? And I died before Matt? This seems like... That seems incorrect. That seems like not right with my fantasy. This seems like something went wrong. Somebody cursed me. Matt was the first to leave. He first turned member against me and then he left. Why? Like, was that all like RNG? I was chilling, honestly. Did a few things around the house. Exercise a bit, clean a bit. Okay, I'm so proud of you. I hope you're feeling stronger every day. Make sure you do your Wordle. A little brain muscle memory. Muscle building. Brain muscle building. I dropped a gas can somewhere. No, you should do the Wordle. I was being serious. Do a puzzle. Do a puzzle. Do something to make your brain think. I guess. I don't really know how it happened. He just randomly wanted to talk to me and he started saying he could see through my lies. What the fuck? That sounds hysterical. Oh, she wants me. Oh my god, it's like... Big whiff. Can I get a whiff in chat? Can I get another whiff? That was on over. I was already on the ground, girl. Your dog bit me. Thank you, guys. I'm gonna do it right now. Matt is wild. She's my... You main Houndmaster? What do you mean? She be so buggy? She's so scary. I can never go around her dog. Like, ever. Oh, here the fuck she comes. Oh my god, this bitch wants me. Run! Run! Such a power woman. She's incredible. I love her design. I do follow somebody who is complaining about how her lore doesn't really match how she looks like. And that if she's a pirate, like, why does she have a dog? But I was like, I think it makes sense. Probably. I'm sure Behavior wouldn't have done their research, you know what I mean? Dies, chef's kiss. Ooh, scary. Let's go back over this way. I don't know what gen they're on. I have Bond. Oh, I should put Bond on. Oh my god, this bitch wants me dead. Big whiff. Can I get a whiff? Guys, I need help! Get the door open, don't 99! No! No! Oh my god, my heart was pounding. I thought I was gonna die. We're all getting out. Come on, Ryan. Did you get out? I think you did. I can't tell who's out. Okay, we're all out. Oh, the way my heart was in such a flutter. I was like, is she really trying to kill me? EP Dear Girl, GG's. She was scary. Honestly, I knew we had it in us. It was the Gabe. It was the power of Gabe. You know what I mean? Only someone like Gabe could have done this. GG's, Ryan. Honestly, Enterly. It was honestly the Gabe, the vibes of Gabe. The fact that 3 of us loaded in with the same top, it was meant to be, you know what I mean? Iconic. Lucas, we should play, so I guess you're a killer main, huh? We should play DBD sometime. Or you should, I know like, the hours are weird, but I play with the community sometimes, so maybe you can come in for that. Me eating her up, my only chase, and her leaving? Love that. Yeah, I did not have the same experience. And I never ate her up. Be shit when you're not in EU for me. Oh. It's the pain, I guess. That makes sense. Yeah, DVD is pretty much our main game on stream, but honestly, after playing Pokopia, guys, we're gonna be seeing more Pokemon on stream. I think I'm actually gonna commit to a Nuzlocke this time. My brother has been wanting to do a Soul Link with me, and I think that would be fun for this summer. Maybe we can plan that. I'm feeling really hopeful. I think doing YouTube has really helped me, and like making my clips like on socials have been helpful for me thinking a Pokopia Nuzlocke. No, my brother and I want to do Heart Gold Soul Silver Nuzlocke, and it's gonna be a Soul Link. Nuzlocke! Do you know what a Nuzlocke is, Dives? Dives, I feel like you're in every corner of the internet for some reason. It might have to do with the insomnia, but I feel like you're in every, you know everything about the universe. And the ADHD. Wait, W Nuzlocke? Yeah, I think I tried a Nuzlocke on stream before, but I did it with Sword and Shield, and honestly, I was doing so bad. I lost so many good Pokemon, and it's such a big game with tons of Pokemon that I felt a little overwhelmed. So I think I'm just gonna start with something a little less grandiose and do like a simulator of like red and green. I mean red and blue. Not red and blue. It's red and green. Fire red and leaf green. Yeah, that's what I just confused myself. But that game. I think I'm gonna do a Nuzlocke of that game. And I haven't decided if I want to make it a randomizer, because randomizers are fun. But I'm really interested in doing Nuzlocks on stream. I mean, we could do it with Sword and Shield. It's just the text and the dialogue and the story. It's such a long game to get through. But yeah, and then my brother and I want to do one together where our Pokemon are linked. So even if my Pokemon survive and his die, I have to get rid of my Pokemon because they're linked. Isn't that crazy? That feels way harder. I've seen even people do Nuzlocks of Legends Arceus, which I thought were interesting, but it's not quite the same. I don't think we're gonna load into this map, friend. I've been wrong many times before. Huntress, look at her. Oh, baby girl. Where are the gas pumps? There's one right there. I gotta hop off. Okay, good night, Lucas. Thank you so much for coming in and saying hi. And I'm really, really sorry again. We'll have to reschedule our Jackbox games. But I'm so down. Like, we just have to come up with a day and the right amount of people. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Like, maybe you should just DM the same group of people. Like, hey, I know we were all down to do this. Like, how can we come up with a day? No. I don't know if I was early, but she definitely swung out of it. Oh, she has haste. She has haste. Reaper! What's up, Reaper? How are games? We're not off to the best start. I'll tell you that. But we got a 4-out last game. And I died first game. We all died first game. then last game we got a 4 out. That way I also can easily, yeah, exactly. I think the same people who we're going to play today, you should just get in a chat. Because you already know we are all interested, you know what I mean? I had to reactivate. Oh, I mean, I'm having a good time regardless. We're playing with homies right now, so yeah. It's honestly the beginning of stream. How are you? I saw in the chat you weren't feeling well, but I hope you're feeling better. His pallet's gone. Interesting. The plague hit my village or whatever. Not the plague. Where do you live? West Virginia? In the 1800s? Nah, I'm okay. Okay, good. Oh, so Ryan, be careful. Good old 1800s village. Exactly. I forgot what I was gonna ask you. I locked in because I could hear her singing, and I got scared. Nice. Ryan, is she on you? This one's almost done too. Oh, she is on you. Don't see me. Playing some Overwatch. Enjoy your Overwatch, friend. Yeah. Hop in whenever. We'll be live for a while. Dog, there has to be another gas can. She's on that side. Fuck you, ho. Mind your business. Because you were not looking at me. Good swing. Get that whiff, girl. Get a whiff. Get a whiff. Get a whiff. Get a whiff. No, 100 the door. I think we make it out. She's patrolling that door, so let's go to the next door. Hey, yo, come here, that way. Ryan, get the door open, just fully. 90, like 100 in, yep. There you go, Ryan. All right. Ooh, almost. No. I'm trying. It's not working. Wordle not letting me Wordle. I'm gonna try again. And I have to do it the other way. Good job, guys. Way to go. GG's. Gotta do your laundry. Okay, bet. I'll see you in a little bit, Dodge. Thanks for popping in. Thank you for your alert. Wordle not letting me Wordle. Good job, friends. She was hungry for that kill.
There are really odd things about this place.
Oh, I have to open chests, huh? Oh, hey. I'm about to dive in. Oh, 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 oh. Okay, cool. I don't know. Let's count. 1, 2. I would say it was on your chain. I would definitely say it's a 3.5 gen chase because that last gen was nearly finished by the time I was done with it. Then somebody else had a whole other gen finished. So I was like, oh, you got more than maybe it was a 5 gen chase low key because there were full gens that didn't get popped. You know what I mean? I popped 0, but I popped 0 gens. I watched the guy pop the gen in Shack and waited for him to heal me. He got me off hook and I just watched him. Oh, femme fatale, say less. Ooh, this is nice. Even her in dark hairs. I guess I could have put on Aurella as well. No, we're running this later album back. This is all I've been listening. Then the one that just came out. The one that just came out. Like, the one that came out yesterday. Yeah, this is all I've been listening to. And I'm obsessed with the first 5 tracks are all the singles that have come out. You're like, where are my notifications? Oh. Are you watching stream? He's probably asleep. Because this is Gabe's map. He was asking which map was Gabe's earlier. I was like, I don't know how to describe it. Just think of aliens. Oh. Oh, I have head on? Like, what am I doing? Why do I have head on table? Stargazer, welcome in. Thank you for the check-in. Obsessed with Ray's new album? Okay, Ray's new album is the next album I'm getting into because my friend who lives in Detroit sent me her song. Oh my god, what song was it? I Know You're Hurting. Oh my god, that song is incredible. So I have to get into it. I might go for Hook. Okay, but she's on my gen anyway. W Detroit? How close are you to Detroit, Momo? Ay puta, ay puta. She still hit me! Stable, help me. Por favor. Oh, she wants my ass. Oh. Golly gee. I don't have fixated anymore. Well, that's fun. I have head on instead. Oh, she looks cute. I've never seen this outfit on her. This Ice Queen outfit. I like that fit. Oh. I live in the province that borders Detroit. Okay, period. I was in Detroit last May, was it? Justin, I'm your killer. You're lying! Beast! But Beast, you're lying. You are! You aren't! Beast, is it you? Yes! Hi, Beast! Justin, I'm your killer! Don't we love to? We love to see it. My queen! Shut up! This has never happened. Hi, friend. Here, I'll give you the gas tank. You can have the gas. Here you go. Stomp on it. Beast, here, stomp on it. Stomp on it. Oh, okay, queen. Okay, legs. This is so funny. Beast! What a pleasant surprise. Here, let's get some gens for Beast to break. Open lobbies or no? It's homies lobbies, pretty much. Like, if you're a friend, you know who you are, and you're welcome to join. So star for sure if you want to come in. Let's look for a gen so you can break something. Is this one finished? Yeah, that one's done. Where's Beast? Oh, there you go. Good job. Oh my god, this is so funny. Me just now discovering you can stomp on the canisters. Yes, Star, totally join. Also, Star, we're in my VC, my Discord. Oh. Thank you. Look away. Look away. I'm sorry. I'm not paying attention. I'm laughing too hard. I came back. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, I'll leave. I'll leave. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Disable shamed me. I'm not allowed to do that gen anymore. I'll do the blood gen. Where'd that gas tank go? I got too excited. It's my friend and my friend's a killer. Hey. Ryan, not you too. I thought we were friends. I'm gonna go this way. It's hard to go up and downstairs, but you're doing it. I'm glad you're going up and downstairs. I hope you're doing it slowly and taking breaks in between. Can you slug Tunnel Camp Rosa? She came back to shame me some more. That's so fucked. Beast W check in. I'm sorry. Sable, please forgive me. Beast, there's a blood gen back there if you want to kick it. Julian's back. Welcome back. I can join VC if you want. Okay, it's totally up to you. No, here, come. Did you break the gen? I think like, oh, there's no blood left in there. That's fun. Break it. This table hates my ass. I'm weak, bro. That's too funny. My friend's a killer. She is. She's gorgeous too. Hell yeah. Oh, last gen. I don't need this. Here. You want to stomp it? Here. Some blood points for you. Here. You want to chase? Let's go. Come, come, come. Oh. Oh. Now, Ryan. What door is being done? Slug race, slug race. Oh, over here. You'll have little. Yep. Hi, Cosmos. Welcome in. Here, I'll get the door open, and we can slug race. That is hilarious. DB Disney, yes. How are you, Cosmos? Cosmos, how are you? It's been a minute. Let's go. Here, have you ever had a Krispy Kreme actually? Okay, Ryan. What is he doing? What is he doing? Oh, not the bee! Ew, it's just her spine. Come, come. Oh. That's insane. Come, let's go. Or bees. Hi J Little, welcome in. Oh my god, Vox, I miss us. Vox, we're having our friend is our killer. Our killer loaded in, and guess what? It is the one and only beast. CJ with the rate of 30, that's crazy! Thank you for trusting me. We're about to slug race. We have a friendly killer. We're like, the killer is our friend. Mel, welcome in. Felipe, welcome in. Shelves, welcome in. Welcome in, everybody. Get your check-ins now that you're here. Thank you for the follow, Shelves. We're gonna do our slug race. I hope you had the best games ever, CJ. I don't know if I have any mods in chat, which I probably don't, but once this game is over, I'll totally give you a shout out. Yes, 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 yes. Ooh. Yes. Okay. Oh, okay. Unlock that jaw, Beast. Unlock that jaw. Beast is a killer, mind you. GG's. Honestly, big shout out to CJ. And that's not you. Dismiss that. Don't mind me. I just fully didn't even care about your username. I was like, your name's CJ. That's totally what. It's totally gonna know exactly. I have to wait 2 minutes. It'll happen. Guys, this is why I need mods. I don't have any mods. This is why I need mods, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I also want to give a shout out to Beast. And I guess I'll give one to Ryan. Joking. Thank you for the follow, Felipe. What's up? Welcome in. Mod me so I can read the tea. J Little, I'm not modded. I don't trust you with my life. I don't trust you with shit. Wrong CJ again, my Justin. No. Ah, wrong CJ again. You know what? Just follow that guy at this point. Copy that. You're so right. The thing is, I typed it right when I couldn't even shout him out. There you go. There you go. Just vote. Honestly, I'm about to. Thank you for the raid, but we gotta go. I quit. I quit. I'll try again tomorrow. Off normal people. I totally will. Wait, why did that work for me? No, I did it right after you. Wait, did it work for you? It did work for you. Well, GG's. Thank you. Maybe that was the whole. What did Beast do? Beast flop. I'm sick. Hi, Aries. Welcome in. Jax. I didn't copy raid, but CJ raid. Oh my god, Jax is here. What's up, Jax? Squishy. Welcome in. Hi, everybody. If anybody else wants to join, any of the homies want to join, we have a spot. We have Stargazer in here now, and Bestie Ryan. Icons only, icons only. TBH. Killer games right now. Okay, Vox, who's your main on as a killer? Hi, I'm new here. What game is this? Okay, Jax. Welcome and hi, new here. I'm Justin. This is Dead by Daylight. This game is full of jump scares and silly, goofy times. Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. You definitely have to play it to experience it, you know? And welcome to Jackass. No, literally times. Is this like TCM? You know, I would suggest that TCM is like this. I don't know which one came out first, actually, if I'm thinking about it. I think TCM came out after. Jax, you would know. I think you would know. Or the name. Raid and Run, thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate you, CJ. I hope you had a great stream. I hope you enjoyed your games today. I was lurking in there when I got home from dinner. And I totally appreciate you bringing all the friends over here. I hope we all vibe out and everybody feels good being here. But if you also need to raid and run and get off the screen for a little bit, I totally don't blame you. So turn off your monitors, give your eyes a break, or get your snacks. Good luck in matches. Honestly, Beast was our killer last match, and I'm feeling pretty lucky, if I do say so myself. We also had a full Gabe squad just randomly. Like Ryan and I loaded in with 2 other Gabes, and we kind of ate that up too. That was incredible. All right, manifesting another friend. another stream snipe. Trickster, but you don't main anyone. Yeah, I think you pretty much play Survivor, huh? Shelves, I am also so fake. I didn't follow you before now. Well, it's okay. You're totally real to me. Ooh. Look nice. I was literally looking at that fit like in the last game and I was like, oh, she's wearing dark hair in this fit. Oh, Detective Unknown here, by the way. Oh, he got me that time. Oh, I didn't know that second hits. Oh fuck, he's still on me. Oh, sorry, Star. It's coming around this way. Oh, I lied. My audio's off. Right, alright. This song is really fun. Trend-setting IDK. Deep thoughts, etc. You actually might be the most real, literally. I think you're pretty real. He really didn't want to pick me up. Why is he? Don't be scared. We're at 5 gens, friend. I promise. There's no one there. I want to play, but I'm trying to be responsible. Yeah, don't play. You're not allowed to play this. There's flashing lights, tons of activity. Damn, he's all scared and shit, and he can't even. Well. Yeah, Dives, you need to take care of yourself. Turn off all the lights. Sit in the dark. Like, be serious. Is he gonna tunnel you? We're a 5 gens, friend. You're in a detective outfit. You should be better than this. Oh, he left. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna push this. Oh, I honestly thought it was on purpose because I was like, I hope Ryan knows he can talk. Just forgot to unmute. Oh. No, it'd be like that. Okay, good. I'm glad you're chatting because I was like, I hope they're not. I hope they both talk to me even though there's a raid. Photosensitivity. If you rush things, it will set you back. Oh, okay, bad. Okay, cool. I don't really know the like. Is he just leaving him slugs? For the body? Okay, good. I'm not going then. Yeah. You better not tell me you're concussed right now. Oh, she's more than concussed. I would suggest that it's more than a concussion, really. I do not want to talk about it. Hey, Mr. Hercules. Hercules is in the Fortnite shop if you care about it. I don't, but it's good to know. Thank you, Tootie. How are you? How are you? My honors thesis is on concussion, and I'm so sick of reading about them. It's a trigger word. Is it Lightborn? It's Lightborn. Oh, you did? Oh, no way. I just flop around like a fish. Pretty much. It's bigger than concussion, but I'm pretty sure there are some similar symptoms. Huh, Dives, would you say? Anyway, though, please. Shelves. Shelves is funny. The bad bitch from Hercules, though. Meg? You don't even know her name? She has a name, Tootie. God damn. You sure did know Hercules' name. Wait, Meg is in Fortnite shop. Yes. Yes, they're adding so many different characters to it. Hey Siri, play Salt Shaker. I can go in the distance. No Siri, please, mind your business. I'm not talking to you. And Hades? Oh, Hades is in the shop. See, Hades is exciting. Like, damn. Like he's already coming here. Yeah, he's on me. Leave me alone. You need to leave. Oh, you're such a bitch. We're at 5 gens. We're at 5 gens. We're at 5 gens. We're at 5 gens. It's a Saturday night. Let's have a good time, Unknown. Like, let's dance. Let's dance a little. You know, I know you're scared. You're scared of the Sable. I get it. I get it. I've been there. I've been there. Unknown, let's talk. No, let's talk. Let's talk, please. Put my ass down. He's walking right through. The beam is crazy. Damn. We are at 5 gens. Are we at 5 gens? I don't know. Yes, we are. We're at 5 gens, and he's tunneled now me and Star. And I don't know what Quentin's doing. Put my ass down. Literally. Okay, now I can officially shout out the right CJ. There you go. I learned how to spell, y'all. I was struggling before. Or is it 1,500 to buy? Okay, well, here's the thing, too. Here's the thing. Spare change. I love that. I want to get back into Fortnite because I just want to go a little pew-pew, you know? Good job, Ryan. Ooh, he's so ugly. Not that. Yeah, that was so ugly. Finally, at least it's not a 5 gen. At least. Words are hard, dude. Yeah, the struggle was real about 15 minutes ago when I got that raid. Not that much on Unknown now. Momo, you are not safe here, remember. Momo, you are not safe here. You are not safe here. If you ever want to carry me in Fortnite, you just say the word, and I'll be like, oh, okay, Rhea, are we gonna be duos in Fortnite? I know, I remember. I brought it up another day after that. I love my poor little Fortnite brain trying to compute DVD. I feel like this is so much simpler than Fortnite. Oh, all of us just, you know, we got the one, you guys got the 1 gen done. Was it 2 gens after? I didn't, you know what?
Fantastic.
Thank you, Quentin. You did a lot more than I thought you were. My ass was dead. I really couldn't do shit. Bugs Bunny is in the. Yeah, he saw the sable fits. You know what? I'm putting gay. I'm putting gay back on. I'm trying to scare people. I know we were too hot, sexy. I mean, Ryan's that fit goes crazy. I love that Michaela fit. Peter's here. Got room for a flop? Yeah. So you're not invited. Got him. Oh. All right, Momo, get in here. We're also in my VC on my Discord if you wanna hop in. I'm honestly just yapping, and I think they're hearing me. They're not really listening. They've zoned me out at this point, and they're just gonna chat with me when it's not because I'm just yapping. Did someone say flop? That's a skill of mine. I hate that. Please. What's up, Doc? Oh, I did see Lola Bunny and Bugs Bunny in Fortnite. I was like, oh. W having shared skills. Dives is truly one of the real, like, one of us. Because we all flop. Now that's a safe space for a flop. My ear starts to hurt really bad. I hate it too, but I hate how much I laugh about it. Why do you hate how much you laugh about it? I feel like if that's how you get through, that's how you get through. Gotta keep laughing. And you see how quickly we got into a match when there was 4 of us? Peter, how are you? Best friend sent me the song Seizure Boy by Watsky? And say, look, it's about you. I'm sick. That's crazy. Dives, that's insane. I'm doing okay. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you checked in, and I hope hanging out with us makes your day a little bit better. More than okay. Not that you're not having a good day. More than okay.
It's me! Jessica! I'm in here!
Every time I hear that one, I'm starting to learn that that's the one you like, because you do it every time you're here, Star. And it does scare, and it scares the crap out of me most times. It is. It is. How long this redeem? Yeah, the redeem is also like 100 years long. It's because he sobs in between words. It's the sobbing dives, okay? You have to keep the sobbing in. It's part of it. When he sniffles, it's the vibe. Yeah, me as fuck. I'm in here. Even though that movie feels like it was out so long ago, and to think that Rachel McAdams is in that movie is insane. Like, that came out, and Mean Girls came out, and The Notebook came out within years of each other. She was booked and busy. I think I read in an interview she said she was filming Mean Girls and The Notebook at the same time. Yeah, yes, yes. What a time. Sobs Daily dives. Please. This is a hot take. Damn, this is a hot take. What's a hot take? I had no clue. No clue what? Finish your sentence. All the filming? Are they? Oh, that they were all like really close. Yeah, she literally was busy. Words are hard. I have brain damage. Okay, like I'm not. You know what? Wow, ableist. I didn't even say. I didn't even say anything. Dave's. Oh my god, Dave's hot chicken. I was about to call you that. Dives. I'm sure you were like this before the brain damage. Okay, if memory serves. I'm so sorry. I will stop acting up. I love you. Good. Look, Dives is gonna go in chat and be like, okay, but also like, facts exactly. In like the best way possible. The brain damage really didn't change a thing. Oh, so why did I think the entrance to this little thing was up here or back here? Let's go do this. Yeah. This is what I get for looking at you, like at your character. Run. He's coming. Yeah, I watched it block. Is he gonna come for me? No, he's going for you. Oh, whoa, that was scary. Okay, I'm back on the gen. No problem. Momo, run. I'm sorry, friend. Yeah, you're perfectly normal. Well, like how you were, I guess. That's not what I said. Momo. I almost missed that. I'm so bad at this game, guys. Put that down. No, you were doing so good. I honestly thought the guy had Lightborn because you tried, and I was like, there's no way he didn't get that safe. There's no way. No. Should I heal you? Or should we just do this? He's right there. He's coming around the truck. I'm gonna go away from Momo toward the gen that just popped. Oh, so are you. Who's coming after? He's coming after me. Fucking A, bro. Oh, he's better than me. So he had no red stain and scared the shit out of me. Oh. Well, I thought we both saw him there. Momo, I'm sorry. Okay, bet. Okay, Momo's off. I thought we both saw him there. I'm so sorry, Momo. When he downed you? Oh. I was like, Momo, I fully ran off that gen. I'm sorry. It's wild though because the version of me, I'm so... Yeah, I think the experience is just like putting things into perspective for you, but honestly, your personality seems pretty much the same, which is a good thing. Like, you are who you are, you know? Hi, Steph. Thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you? CJ Raiden lurking. I appreciate you. Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the lurk. Go get your non-screen time in. I appreciate it. Excuse me. Oh, I'm gonna go this way. I'm going back to the gen. Oh, it's so broken. The one by this truck. Oh, where is it? Oh, okay. No, good try. Good try. I legitimately was 50-50 first. Oh, no way. Yeah, that's so scary. And I know, like when people have strokes, they like lose so much of their function. What? He might be coming over here. I see him. No, he's coming over to me. Yeah. This thing is still crowd controlled. I know, I'm running into Shaq. I can go get Ryan. Oh, he's on me now, never mind. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I didn't realize how close he was to me. No! Ah, you can't even hear him load up. You can't hear him, like, aim. That's so tough. That is so tough. You can't even hear him I couldn't hear him lift his gun. Live fully and just be happy. I didn't care what powers to be. Yes, of course. W reassurance. Tell him to go away. I know, he's just up my ass. Good try, Ryan. Okay. I'm gonna go heal. Thank you, Momo. Nice little back massage. Oh. Aquí viene. Thank you, Momo. Oh my god, you are incredible. Thank you. He leaves me alone. I'm gonna go for your hook, Ryan. I'm gonna go. Oh, you are? Okay, bet. I'm gonna go work on something because. Did he leave Momo? Oh, no, so. Oh, there's a blood gen outside Shack. Okay, I see now. I'm by the tractor. I'm by the tractor. I'm going for save. No way. Look at Momo. I got Momo. I'm gonna heal. I'm not gonna see him until it's too late, I fear. Oh, just out in the open, putting blood in this gen. He's so close to me. Yeah, he hit me. It's just vote, just vote. Come on, lift that gun again. You don't even know where I'm at. You will never get this, you will never get this, la 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 la. Oh no, Star. Weird, I'm by the tractor. No, just Vox, please don't lie to me. We already had a friend come in and say they were our killer, and they actually were. Like, how incredible. Is B streaming? That'd be so funny. I'm gonna try to grab you. He might come back and break this gen that I was working on. Comes back to gen. Oh, Momo's going down. Okay, he's over here. Oh, he's looking. He's hunting. No! Bad gunslinger! He went for hook. No, he's coming back to me. Ay, puta! Ay, me morí. Oh, he's just better than me. We need a Borat counter. I do Borat all the time when I'm playing this game. I always go, you will never get this. I should make it a redeem. GG, you guys totally get out. 2 gens. I totally, it's either that or hatch. I believe in the hatch for sure. Vox, if you're our killer, I will never forgive you. Just kidding. No Momo. Oh, my scoreboard's broken. He is so scary. Oh my god, you're incredible. You blend in. You're literally one with the ground. You are the dirt. You are the dirt. That's so funny. Those are the best moments when you're like right crouched, like behind the most obvious thing. You're like, how are they not seeing me? You are the dirt. Wow, thank you, OMG. DVD things. Yeah, the more you know. This is how you be good at DVD. You just literally blend into the ground. And the killer will never see you. Wow. You're really gonna get this gem though. That's incredible. Oh no. Yeah, honestly, hiding worked the first time. Oh my god, never. Did he go the other way? Never. Not behind the rock, silly. Not in there, silly. Did he open both? He opened both. Star, ain't no way, Star. Ain't no way. Got away with it a second time. This is DVD gameplay at its finest. He's just gonna camp that gen, I think. He's back. Ooh! You're better. You're literally better. You're better than him. Oh my god! You're incredible. Oh. You did so good, friend. I'm so proud. I don't know what's going on, but they fried. I know. Star literally fried him. Oh, go, go, go! Momo, you got. Oh, good try. He was not taking any spins. Also fried. No, I completely read that the way it was supposed to. He was not going to let us try to bait him. I cannot believe he opened both lockers, by the way. I was like, little twerk, hey, yeah, tongue out and everything, yeah, exactly. Oh, good try. Good try. Momo, you get out easy. No problem, you get hatch, I believe. Me never playing DVD being pressed as fuck. Honestly, I feel like I also just have gotten better at DVD because I watch so much DVD content online. Totally get hatch. Oh, that's not. Oh, he's a shooter. You miss all the shots you don't take, right? I guess that's the vibe. Oh! R.I.P. Good try, Momo. Good try, you guys. We tried. He was spooky scary. He was quiet. We couldn't hear him. Honestly, that moment where Star is just hiding in front of his face is kind of crazy. Like when y'all get me locked in, I'm like, okay, report him. No, he was fine. He was fine. No, I couldn't even. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't. The scoreboard was gone. There was no scoreboard. I love this song. I'm just protective. Like, I don't know her, and I'm like, don't do my friend like that. Yeah, exactly. No, see, this is why Dives belongs here, because she's for it. She's for the culture. She's for the people. Ooh, that feels good, that stretch. She was like smooth avoiding his ass. No, literally. Why, thank you. What a cute little emote. Oh my god, is that Gengar? I'm crying. Oh my god, I just realized all your emotes are Gengar. Okay, the Gengar Clefable, that is so fun. I love that. It's canon. Huge fan now. Exactly. Yeah, I'll give Star ammo motion. Okay, Star, so when are we changing the name? I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, I'm just happy Stargazer is staying. I'm glad Stargazer is staying. But what's the problem with this one? Like, what do you want to change about it? Like shorter? I see, I see. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I think it's still pretty short without the numbers. Or you could just do that. You could do like what I said, the one and only Stargazer. You'd add a bunch of words at the front, you know? The magnificent one and only. It doesn't count if it's at the front, exactly. I had this one game with Wong where I juked the fuck out of this team in ranked Unreal Reload builds, and I was just running and cackling, and y'all came back and we won. So I know a ball. Yes, yes, yes. That happens sometimes at Fortnite. Oh. Here again. Hey, oh. So about my pants. Oh god, please be just vote. I honestly might. I haven't played against a knight and I'm remembering how horrible it will be. Okay, he's in the house that's up there. Oh, the houses are swapped this time. Yeah. Wait till my sweats come back. I can't tell where he is. I'm upstairs doing the blood gen and he's near me. Like I can hear him, but oh, he's up here. Por favor, no entra, no entra, no entra, no entra. Camina por el otro lado. Por favor. No! I will be running. Oh, he wants me. Oh, he's silly. He put out his partner in crime. I'm sorry. I just need to get away. I had no idea you were here. I'm going back to that gen. Momo? Or me? Okay. I think he's after Momo. For a little bit? Oh. Emotional support squad mate. I'm so happy that you felt so connected to me when we met. That means a lot. Damn, he really took out half this thing. And that really does mean a lot because I tried to like, I mean, I feel like I am that person and I feel like I am genuine. Even though I might have like a spicy tone. Not ruin. Oh no, it's not ruin. It's pain. Wait, what is it when somebody gets downed and the gen breaks? I search. Because that broke. As I Momo got knocked. Oh Momo. I'm gonna try to finish this gen, Momo, and then I'll go right over there. On stars, crazy. Okay, cool. I'll finish this gen. I'm like halfway done. I second guessed myself, but we talked and I was like, no, he's cool. Yeah, exactly. It's no shade. And anytime I behave a certain way, it's like never malicious, you know? I'm very much about protecting my peace. So oh, I see you, Star. Run, Star, run! Loop him good, loop him good. Oh, good try. I'm gonna finish this gen though. This gen's done though. Which way did he go? Which? He's in the house, through the house, through the house. He went downstairs. I'm dead. Oh, you didn't even need to put out your little friend, dude. Like, you literally could have just chased me. I hate him. Beg thee, bully me. Good try. Good try. Try, Justin. At least you got the gen done. And heck, stars off hook. Everything worked out. Everything I wanted to do happened. Through the school. He went through the school. Yeah. Momo's right next to me, so he could probably get saved. Momo's doing the gen. Okay, bet. Yeah, Momo's right downstairs doing the gen. Period. Thank you. I have blood in my canteen still. Okay, I'm gonna fill this up. Period. Period. Not that he's chasing you, but that I finished the gen with what little blood I had left in my canteen. You're like, oh, okay. Preying on my downfall. Never that. I need you. I need you to take the chase so I can be safe, you know? No, we're all gonna get out. Like, I feel it in my bones. This guy doesn't stand a chance. I don't know if there's another bludgeon to do. He does have hubris? Ain't no way. Okay. Are you at main? Okay, bet. I'm there's a gen right outside that I'm doing. Blood gen. I could probably get blood somewhere else. I don't want to go to the I'm doing the gen right outside the school. Right outside of main. I'm doing that one over there. Over there, over there. It's over there. At the front of the school. Unless you, I mean, I don't know how far that one is along. That's downstairs. No, it's good. It's done. He's after me. Fucking hubris. Fuck, I forgot you said that. You literally called it out. That's low-key where I'm headed. I'll try to loop him here for a little bit. I can loop him. I did it twice, stunned him again. Big man. Big man! You can't take me. Oh, he's going to door. He's going to the door. He's going to the door. I'm heading to door now. But he went... no. It's going. Quarter done. Alright, quarter left. Yeah, I'm good. Let's go. Bye! Easy! Too sweet. He just swung at you and missed. Okay, Momo, I don't know where you are, but I hope you got out. Yes, there you go. There you go. W4 out. Let's go. Got room for me. We have a full squad right now, Vox. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Fran. Continuing killer, bet. I'm sorry, Vox. I'm probably gonna stick with these people for the next hour, because then I'm just gonna hop off stream. So I was just gonna stick with you guys for the rest of stream. Unless you guys leave. Like I need to leave. I got room for you in my heart. Yeah, Vox. Vox, there's always room for you here. Right there, where you're sitting. It says Vox. That's your name on it. Oh, we're done with the album? You thought? I'm putting it right back on. Every time I notice the album's off, I'm putting it right back. Excuse me. Actually, I'm just gonna fast forward to the part where the song starts. Because this intro is a minute long. Okay, sounds good. That was a good cheat. Emotional support noises. Squeeze, squeeze, squish, squish. Are you for real? Oh, it's okay. I support that. I support that. Maybe canned. Maybe canned. Some water. Some percent water. There is water. I think that's what matters. You didn't see, there is. I mean, a bathroom has to be there. HIPAA. It's a HIPAA rule. Just kidding. I don't know. I don't know. Oh my god, Momo, you scared the shit out of me. It just came out of the shadows like, hello. Wow, you grabbed an Alani and didn't get enough for the group. That's crazy. You're like, I have 4 straws. We're color coded. Color coded. Yeah. True. Um, I can't hear the game. That's crazy because like my audio is gone. I feel like he's close to me. Why is my heart beating? My game audio is fucked. Oh, I see him. I see him. I'm gonna hide real quick. Okay, audio is officially back because I didn't have audio before. I'm going to the blood gen that we spawned on. Oh, I just saw him dash. Oh! Put Ryan down! Oh, damn. Yeah, I'm right here now. I didn't know where he was! Was he above me? He was. Yeah, he does. Never! I literally turned the corner. I turned the corner. I looked the wrong way. He's just spinning in circles. Report him. That's the solution to everything. Just report him. I will say, I feel like people like online, like not online, take this game more seriously than like content creators. I feel like content creators don't really care. It's always some rando like pissed at them for being toxic, and I'm like, oh. Okay, as long as you got Ryan off hook before you rotted too long, you know? Like that last time. Oh. That first match. They let you rot. They let my friend rot. They wouldn't even help me. Yeah. I'm going to the hook. Dang. I definitely didn't see it. My back was to it. I promise. I had my eyes closed. He's coming straight for hook. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know why I didn't use my medkit on you, but alas, here we are. Oh, I love that. I'm in main doing the budget with like the 10 blood I had left. I'm gonna go heal real quick. Get the cure, the vaccine. Run. Run, Ryan, run. Oh, I don't like this. No, he was literally doing 360s while he was carrying me to the hook. Oh, aquí viene, aquí viene. Oh no, Momo, please. I didn't know you were main. Oh. Did he hit you with his tentacle? To be honest. I'm on the gen friend, just FYI. And then I'm gonna go get Ryan. I'm coming, Ryan. I have chanclas on. I promise I'm coming. It's okay, he grabbed me. Ooh! Damn. Oh! He held his tentacle out for so long! I thought he put it away. Put that away. Put your tentacle away. Not the chanclas. I'm literally wearing slides. Oh, sorry. The gen in main is literally at its brink. It needs to be filled. It's begging for it, dying for it. My hero. Yeah, there's a gas tank back here. Oh yeah. Wait. Oh, I was gonna spray you. But you don't need to be sprayed. Oh no, you do need to be sprayed. Yeah, I was gonna spray you. I have one spray left in this. I'll go find another. Oh my god, me with the fucking canteen in my hand, I cannot. Again? Okay, I'll leave, but you can run. Okay, bet. I don't know what I'll do, but I'm gonna do something. I might get star. Are you on star yet? Okay, right. Yeah. He said, "Boo." Love that, love that. I need a gas tank. Here. They're so far! They're so far away! Momo, that's the... I'm gonna go for Momo. I'll go for Momo. Oh, star, no. Okay, as long as he doesn't go for hook. I thought he was gonna see me for sure. Ronnie, welcome back. How was D&D? Wait, was the D&D or did I guess wrong? Got you, friend. They were working on a gen at Shack. Are you at Shack? Are you guys chasing at Shack? Oh! It wasn't letting me pick up the can. I'm sick. No. Ryan. I got friends? Okay, you know what? I'm dropping my gas. He's just gonna come get me anyway. Come here, Mr. Wesker. Come touch it. Come touch it. Come touch it. Come. I know you see me. Come, come. Come. Come here, Wesker. I'm not done with you. Puta! Come on. I thought we were having this illegal night. No. Come on. The pallet.
You're merely
That way.
postponing the inevitable.
Not again.
Pay for that.
Go that way. I'm running. Sorry, Star. I'm coming this way. Oh, there's no pallets here. I can't have a silly good goofy time with him anymore. Take that channel. There's a pallet here. Hi, puta. Good job. Good job, Wesker. That was fun. That was fun. That was fun. Almost a 2 Jenner. Oh, GG. He hit me twice. I thought we were having fun. Come on, it's okay. It's only okay if you have fun. Can I have my little fun? The joy I feel when you laugh. I was having such a good time. It was D&D, but not for us. It was for my kiddo. Oh, that's so cool. Don't they have anything going on for her? So our DM came over to have a session for her as a makeup session. That's so cool. That's awesome. I hope she had the best time. Were you like, did you get to watch her do her thing? Like, that sounds really fun. Also, Ronnie, how was your Saturday? Why did he do a twirl like that? Like, this is what we wanted out of the other. Wasn't it a Wesker that we were like, oh, you're being rude and nasty? Who was it? No, don't slug. Come on. Don't slug. We were having such a fun time. I thought we were having fun. I feel bonita. Wesker, just know we thought you were a friend. We thought you were putting up a good fight. Oh my god, the friends is crazy. And that's probably why he hooked. He was like, I'm just gonna know where they are anyway. He was in a temple and had a showdown with 1 orc, 3 goblins, and a tiefling warlock. Holy shit! That's crazy. I bet she did so good though. Alright. You totally find Hatch. Unless he found it and that's why he stopped over there. My ears aren't working. Oh, never was it right there? Oh no, it was right there, friend. He ended her session with us turning the corner, so now we'll all be together again. Oh my god, that's so awesome. Still here lurking. Tito, welcome in. Did you get your check-in earlier? I'm sorry if I missed you, friend. I didn't see you earlier, but thank you for being here. Hi, Justin. Hi, Dives. Hi, Tito. Oh. Aw, W. Wesker. Thank you, Wesker. We had so much fun with you. Those chases were fun. Why? Drop her. Come on, we were being friendly. Oh, okay, he's letting you go. He's letting you go. Come on, don't be rude, Wesker, please. We've trusted killers like you before. Don't you dare. You let my friend go. No! Never trust the killer! I hope he's more in. Vox, whose side are you on? Yes! Whose side are you on, Vox? Vox was the killer the whole time. Oh, you are? I am the killer, baby. I am the boom boom gun. That was such a fun match. Ronnie, my one coupon. Wait, my one coupon just doesn't quite know who they want to be, so we started cosplaying so they can explore without the stigma, and it feels really good. Ooh, that's cool. What have you cosplayed as together? It's so awesome that you want to do that with your kid. That's so important. No, D&D is so fun, and I bet like you can just find like a group near you. You could probably find a group near you to host some sessions. I know it's not that easy, but like to find people. There's a tabletop community here that plays like every other week. No, every other week. And I tried it out. I gave it a good chance though. Like I think I went for like 2 or 3 months consistently. Maybe 2 months consistently. But it wasn't really my thing. Like I didn't feel like myself there. So I have to make my own like campaigns and stuff. A few months ago we went to a con and then me and my 8-year-old slept in my bed. I was just talking to them. They were sniffling. Aww. Stop! You're so cute, Dives. Watch more D&D campaigns. Yo, Momo. I'm running a campaign right now for my brother that I have to finish. And it's been like 5 months since we've come together and I have not written anymore. I need to find a community for the kiddo. She needs people around her age to do this with. Yeah, of course. Love having her part of this. She needs the peer interaction. Yeah, like she needs people her age to like know how to be around, you know. Sometimes it's hard when you're like a kid amongst adults, you know. Last con, my oldest was. Ooh, that's fun. The first time I watched the indie campaign was Dungeons and Dragons. Dude, Momo, I love those videos. I get that, baby. Yeah, I love both seasons, Momo. They're so funny. It's so good, and I mean, I watched so many other of their other campaigns on there. That are also very funny. Yeah. And guys, gender is literally made up. Like, let's move on. Please. Let's move on to the wars. Like, let's stop talking about gender as a society. You know? It's only that deep because people are making it that deep, and like let people like express themselves however the fuck they want and mind your fucking business. How about that? Oh! Oh, he hit me! Oh, it's the ugly huntress at that! He missed, but he's gonna swing. Oh my god, you're better. Gender is my pussy. I mean, see, Vox? Some people, that's what their gender is, and that's okay. I'm far from perfect as a mom, but I love my babies and I can give them this. Yeah, of course. Hello. Justin to drop a campaign on us to watch. But I want to play a campaign. I've never played like a legit campaign. Actually, Tony has been running a campaign for us, but I want one that is like storytelling. I'm so into that. And I want to play a character. Thank you, Momo. Okay. Back to our regularly scheduled programming. I'm gonna fill this up. Well, yeah. Exactly, Momo. well, yes. Heavy on that. No, literally. It's like, who the fuck gives a damn? I missed our local con because of health stuff, so bummed. Oh no. You know, those things are fun because you know they're always gonna happen. I'm still like where I got hooked. There's a blood gen here I'm working on. I saw him, but I lost. So. Okay. Excuse me. Run, Star, run! Oh, he left you. Or is he still there? Oh, he's coming back to me. I see him. I see him. He's coming over here to me. He's heading over. Whoever's fit that gen that popped, he's coming that way, by the way. I think he hit my gen. Yep. And Iron Maiden, what a nasty hoe. Oh, he's trying. Oh, it's because I'm exposed. He has Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden. Yeah. Yeah, I was hiding from him because he came over here. And then you popped the gens, I was leaving. My kiddo's at the age where her body is changing, so she's not going to. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly, Ronnie. And honestly, that's the best kind of parenting. My mom was blessed with 2 queer boys. And I'm so grateful to have had a mom like her who was just like happy that I existed, you know what I mean? In whatever way that looked. He's patrolling, and I don't understand. I think it's probably Iron Maiden. Like, there's probably a Hex. The Hex over there. He also probably wants this kill. Yeah, just for a little. No, I'm saying he's probably just like patrolling around for the Hex. Oh. No, he just wants to kill. Yeah. He's just tossing the matches. He won't leave me. He's staying over here. That is so weird. He's then turn around and target and try to look at you. And then turn around to me. And I look at him. And I look back at him. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't. Oh, he does. He might actually. Okay, he hit me. I thought he was gonna wait it out. No, he wants the kill. He wants the kill. Oh! Sir, that's the floor. Thank you, Star. Icon. Icon! Exactly, just love your babies. Exactly, it's so easy. Just love your babies. It's so easy. They're babies you chose to have. Because you could also choose not to have babies, you know what I mean? So, well, I guess not in a lot of places you really can't choose, but... Oh, no way. Oh, I was like, that's me. Okay, he wants a kill. It's also one gen. What gen can I work with? Oh, naturally. Yeah. Oh, the one I was trying to do. Is that finished? Or one more? Oh, there was a... Okay, cool, cool. I'm gonna open this door. I'll be this... Run, run, Momo! I'm gonna open this door by where we just popped the gen, okay, guys? Do you think I can get Momo? Momo, can I get you? Do you think? Okay. I still have medkit juice. He's hiding. He's patrolling that door. I'm gonna go to a different door. I'm going to the far door. Wake up! Fishy, wake up! I'm opening this gate still. Should I just open? Okay, a door's open. I'm going for Hook. Oh no, he's on Hook, huh? Come here. He doesn't want to commit. He doesn't want to commit. Go, go, go. No way! I'm still here though, by the way. I'm dead, I think. No, Star, we love you. GG's. Yeah. Yep. Oh no, he picked her up. Going through all my tabs and doing the same thing. GG's. Refreshing all the tabs. I appreciate you. Sorry, Star. Oh, he put her down. GG's. Good try. I know. He was hungry for it. It's okay. Never is his name Titus the Dragon. That is so funny. That is so crazy. I didn't even have a flashlight though. I was at I was at Death Hook though, and no one else had hooks. Anyway, I'm gonna ready up and press it back. Wow, I made it back just in time. Just like my name. Just in time for the game. And I have to burp. Excuse me. Who's that? Who's just in time? My cousin. Yeah, Dives is an incredible mom. She is the toughest on herself, but I still think that's like a mom trait. To be really hard on yourself. Oh wow. Lots of pie and lots of eyes. Okay, Dr. Seuss. No truer words have ever been spoken. Truly. realize. Like in his no in the stream early in the stream in your stream earlier, Ryan, when you were like talking to one of the NPCs and they were like, at the end of the day, it's night. And I was like, real talk, real talk. At the end of the day, it is night. That's so real. What was that? Final Fantasy, right? Dog, when that NPC said that, and it was pointed out in the chat, I was like, ain't no way. Oh. Oh, he sees me. Oh! That's how I felt. That's how I felt. Oh. Oh. I just choked myself. Oh, nice. Exactly. I know, guys. It's senti hours, ain't it? Yeah, Momo, milk that hook. Oh. No, finish the gen, finish the gen, finish the gen. Oh. Oh, it's a good thing you came over this way, huh? Oh, that's not correct. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. He left, he left. I watched you both come this direction. Thank you. Alright, let me refill this. Where is this? Oh, why is it so far away? There has to be one closer. Yeah, right there. I'm gonna fill this up, Momo. Maybe you can get hooked once you're done. Let's go. We got this. It's fine. It's fine. Not back to hook. Oh. Oh, I hear you, Momo. I see you. Run, Momo, run. No, good try. Is he gonna bring you to my hook? He's gonna bring you to this hook. He does. Okay, I'll try to grab you. He's gonna hit the gen, bro. I cannot. Never! Perhaps. Hey, be nice! Sorry, buddy, I'm leaving. Bye, Momo. I'm taking him so far. He might. I think he's gonna go back, maybe. He's coming right to me. He's on the gen that's being worked on over here. Oh, ain't no way! Oh, I totally made that vault. This game makes me clench. It is a booty clencher game. Oh, he has bamboozle, by the way. He just vaulted that window. There's no window there, Star, okay? That gen over there is Momo? Okay, cool. I didn't know how much it regressed after he hit it. I was like, he hit it. You're an icon, you are the moment. Yeah, easy. Just... There's one behind... There's one in front of you, Ryan, that's that you can make like a regular gen. Go this way. Oh, he's coming right back to my hook. Where I was hooked anyway. There's a gen over here, Ryan. Where I'm at. Okay. It has progress on it. I had to leave. I know, he's just looking for me. I'm gonna go back to the gen. Oh, he just gave... Oh, I thought he was gonna give up on you. Okay, I'm back on the gen. I'm just gonna work on the gen. It's a lot of waiting, guys. Like, a lot of, like... Which, dude... Yeah, me too. I have no idea where he is. Okay. Good try. Good try. Halfway done. Oh yes, okay, great. Oh, he's coming back to the gen, by the way. He hit my gen, and I'm running into main. He's in main. Oh, there's no pallet here anymore? That's incredible. At a blast. He hit me! He hit me even though I had life! Big whiff on you, you ugly mutt. Okay, well, it happened once. It's okay, that... Okay, for the homies. My chanclas at that. Antless and shoeless. What a way to go out. Yeah. He's gonna just lunge. Hell yeah, Momo. Dang, the adren. Oh, that would have been iconic. It's a thought that counts. Oh, No Way Out is insane. Never! Never! Run, Star, please! No! Oh, Star's camera is all messed up on my screen! I was looking above the map. GG. Good try. We almost did it. I had faith in us. Oh, are they? I couldn't see. My scoreboard was broken again. Okay, I probably got 2 more left in me, guys, if that's okay with you guys. And then I'm gonna end. I think we're gonna watch a movie tonight. It's great. Movie in Pokopia. That's all I could ask for. Whoops.
I've seen better days. That's for sure.
Oh. All right, manifesting witch killer. Witch killer, not the unknown. Okay, Momo, not here. He's just so crazy. It's like the opening of the mouth to like aim. It's kind of crazy. Oh yes. Play is fun. Let's go. Come on, shake for the Billy. Myers would be fun. Just Myers on midwich if we want to jump scare. I just want to be included in one of those clip compilations. Where they're all like laughing and scared. The Myers, like that legit would be me. Blood Moon in-game event. And yeah, it's taking a while to load up. It must be a big map with tons of lights. Maybe it's a new one. I've been playing that map as killer. It's been fun. You're lying. No, it took this long like a few games ago too, right? Or loading. Oh, maybe that's what's happening. Is that you disconnected? Ah, and just like we thought. Yeah, let's see. Let's see who he manifested. Is it really? Oh, thank goodness. Help. Oh, his name is K Paso. I'm dead. K Paso. Nowhere to hide. Bamboozle. Yep. No way out. And Pop goes the Weasel. Whenever you hook a survivor, the next 45 seconds when you damage the generator, it explodes and moves for 2 more. Oh. Oh. Did your game actually crash mode yet? Or are you still on the loading screen? How long do you think it'll take? Do you think we can wait? Oh. Okay, okay. We'll load in one and get you for the last game. No, it's okay. Sorry about that. Behavior, get your shit together. Because I won't blame my friend's Wi-Fi or his PC. It's definitely behavior. Really? No way. Damn. I know that too. Ugh. What kind of experience is this? It says you're still in. Shh. Yeah, I think so. Oh wait, no, I can remove. I can remove. Is that new? I didn't know you could do that. Because people reset lobbies by leaving the whole lobby. Oh, yes, yes. Should we wait? Yeah, let's wait. Let's just wait. Oh, period. Go jam. It's okay. I'm just waiting for your name to pop up. Once it pops up, Clap if you think she should suffer. Every time I hear a clap, that's all I want to say. It's like an itch, like a vocal stem. I know. So much of her is just like tattooed into my brain. Right? Yes, they do. They do. I used to watch those at work all the time. So funny. Yeah. Guess who's jealous of Adele? Beyonce. Beyonce. No, yeah. It's shame on you, Mr. Spears. You had us fooled, and you too, Mrs. Spears. To all of them. That is so crazy. Even she was shocked. No, she shocked herself too. Hi, Ken. Welcome in. How are you? What's up? What's up? How'd you find us today? We're playing some DVD. Yeah, I cannot believe I just did that. Another person came out and said that, I promise. Good, how are you? We're chilling. We're chilling, Ken. We are playing 2 more games till we end stream, but it has been quite the stream. We had a huge raid from CJ, which was great. And one of our killers was a friend. I'm friends with JJ, followed you a while back. Oh, JJ, oh my god. Dude, I never catch his streams, ever. And I only see his TikToks. How are you, Ken? What are you up to this weekend? We have a channel regime, Ken. It's check-in if you want to start your counter. It's there if you want to. Highly encouraged, but not required, you know. Completely understandable. Like, I never see his streams. Did you say check-in? Yeah, check-in. In my channel point redeems, there's a check-in redeem you can redeem for a daily counter. Right now, I think the longest is 29, which is kind of crazy. I let these survivors go, and they talk shit to me, calling me bad, but they were all on death. And honestly, you were letting them go. They should have been grateful. I know that Huntress was mad we all got out. Well, I mean, in my eyes, Star got out. In my eyes, we were all healed up and ready to go get Star. Like, we were ready. You did not die. We were ready to get you. 4 gens at Deathhook? I hate that. Help, I have no idea how to use Twitch. Okay, so in your chat, the bottom left-hand corner, there's like a little bubble icon, and that's what you're looking for. And if not, it really doesn't matter. It's just better that you're here and just listen. There you go, Ken. I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you. Ooh. W check-in, let's go. Ken, tell us about yourself. I live in the Midwest, and we're just having a silly, goofy time on DVD and Pokemon. We've been playing a lot of Pokemon on stream too recently. It's another Houndmaster. She just cut through middle. I'm going to okay, found a gas can. Yeah, I'm going to a gas tank right. Oh! Rosa? Oh, the sandbag match. Sandbag match. No, please. No! No! Oh my god. Damn. Like, why are you looking the wrong way, friend? That's how I feel when the killers are not facing the way to get blinded. Like, no, look the other way, please. Like, just turn around. Turn around, I promise. It won't hurt you. I just moved back to North Carolina from Chicago. Okay. Yeah, I'm really close to Chicago. Super big into anime, like to play video games, first-person shooters with JJ. Okay, nice. I'm no good in cozy games. Love watching people stream horror games. Period. So you're in the right place. We do a little bit of everything. I'm trying to get back into Fortnite, but that's pretty much the only shooter I'm playing at the moment. And we do a lot of cozy games, story games here. I will be doing more of that too. Like Pocopia was refreshing, and it made me feel like, oh, I should get back into some of the games I haven't finished. On stream we started Assassin's Creed, so we might finish that one day. Soon. Yeah, we played is it Origins? The one that's based in Egypt? Like the Egyptian one? That's the one we were doing. It's so good. Like the storytelling is so good in that game. Oh, I see where the gen is. Oh, I see her. She's going to main. She's on Momo. I'm gonna go upstairs to finish the... Oh! Momo's going upstairs. It's okay. It's okay. No, she literally doesn't know where you're going. She's going to hook. She's going to hook. I don't know. I'll check now. Okay, good. I'll finish it then. Yeah. I finished this here. I love DBD 2 though. Great game. Oh my god. And I'm always looking for people in the community to play. You need like downstairs? Oh, I hear you. Oh my god, I was like, I hear your grunts. Your grunts of pain. Yeah, you never invite me. Vox, that's not true. There's literally video evidence of us playing the other day. It was on stream, I promise. Not over there, girl. You went into basement? Like, please be so for real. Why? Just give us our friend back. You're just like Wolfie. Actually, Vox, I'm nothing like Wolfie. Vox, we straight up played last time, I promise. I remember we were playing. You didn't invite me on Fort either. Oh, guys, don't play. Don't play. Don't play. Because... Okay. Why doesn't he want to commit to you, Momo? Dives, the receipts say otherwise. The receipts say that you were the one that didn't invite me to play. She's going right back to hook. Okay, like... Allegedly. I was like, that is so much closer than I think it is. I just want to finish this gen. The face you just made, literally. I'm so sorry, Star. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. It's Star. Icon. Oh my god, but I can't hit his skill check. I can't do anything right. No. Alright, I'm gonna try. If you can keep the reassurance there, I can try to get the hook. Star, I'm so close. Nice. Go. Go, go, go. You scared me. Sorry, I'm coming. Oh, hell no, I'm sorry. I was like, I need to keep sitting on this gen. I can't. She kept going back to the hook. Yeah. All right, everyone make their way through the window.
Fight.
It's okay.
Fight.
I'm gonna try to take her away from Shaq. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Oh, she's really close to me now. Oh, thank God. Oh my God, no, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. Oh my God, I was on the pallet too and she forced me away from the pallet, like it didn't let me drop it on her. You big back bitch. She just pushed me out from under the pallet. I'm pissed. Did you watch me freak out? Oh my goodness. I had a temper tantrum. Sorry guys. It was this pallet, Momo. The pallet right behind us. Oh no. I'm gonna try to gen, I guess. Oh, I see a gen over here. Oh. Ah. No. Never. Hi, Agent. Oh my God, JJ, what's up? Welcome in. I was like, who's Agent Nice? Oh. This gen is literally 99. I cannot. JJ, how you doing, bro? Bro. I was like, who the fuck is Agent Nice? Why did I chat? Did you see that gen, Ken? Like, it made me sneeze on it. Oh, hey. Okay. It said, sneeze on the beat and the beat got thicker. She didn't see us. That's incredible.
Fight.
Okay, I'm going for hook. Okay. Oh, no. Yep. I took. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to go back. No. Okay. Let's see if she picks. Where are you? Okay, cool. I have space. Okay, bet. Single? I'm sick. I have a fear and fright. Let's go. I might go for Ryan. Oh wait, I should heal you actually. She's coming right here. Can you get inside? I hear you. Where are you? No, she crossed. Yeah, she sees me. Oh, I'm sick. Oh, she didn't see me. Qué estúpida. No, fuck no. I'm going back. I'm going to Rosa. Ryan, I'm coming. No, we're all on death. Like, this is sick.
This is a load of barnacles.
Oh, and I'm broken? That's nasty.
Now.
Oh, I'm sick. Please. Okay, you guys got this. You freaking love this game. Ken is gonna be my new duo. When Ryan can't play, it'll be Ken. I'm convinced. Oh, not me. Whoever got you sick was trying to take you out. Remember? I just have to have somebody on deck. You know what I mean? I almost lost you once. Not the insurance plan, my backup plan. Yeah. I still don't have a scoreboard, by the way. Go crazy on these sound bites. Yeah, I love my sound alerts. My sound alerts are so fun. JJ, how you been, man? Have you been enjoying art, readers? Momo. 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 Don't look down, she's right over there. We have to start bringing a hatch offering. Hey. Nah, she's hungry. She wants that 4K bad. She wanted it bad. She won't be able to sleep unless she gets the 4K. Let's just be grateful she'll get some rest. Right? I know that's right. Alright, LG. Last game. This was so much fun. Thank you for playing with me, guys. I appreciate you so much. No, I'm so happy you guys wanted to chill. And Star for being on VC even though you're like sick. You're like, trust. It's fine. It's fine. We're all fine. We're fine. I'm fine. Another Wendy Williams girl. Okay. Uh-huh. I know that's right. Shady cameraman. I need to make that a little like scene change or something. I have a few Wendy Williams. Like this is another favorite. I always say this.
Yup.
Yep. Oh, and let us not forget this bop. The Minnie Mouse song. Dance break. This song is so good. Hey, Recon. Hey, dip. Hey. That little boy voguing will never be forgotten. He ate. Listen, Camilla, I don't want to take your little poll. This like survey service, I guess, has my phone number, and they always text me like, "We want your data. Like, please answer a few questions." And it's like, "Hi, this is Camilla from Dynata." What is it? Let me. Yeah, from Dynata. We're conducting an important study with New York residents. I don't even live in New York. Hola, soy Camila. Estamos realizando un estudio importante con los residentes de Nueva York. Okay, girl. I'm not taking your survey. I always get those. Do you get those because you lived in New York or like near or like maybe not for New York but like for like PA? I'm dead. I'm dead. Oh hey. All right, LG guys. Is it the preschool again? Oh Jesus. I'm actually can we all every time we see him we DC the minute we see him. He just yeah, let's do it. Hold hands, hold hands. Where are you guys? I lost y'all. He was on me and they walked away. I'm still at spawn by the picnic tables. Oh hey, me looking around. All right, where are the other two? Let's go find them. No gen work. We're just gonna go find our two friends. Yeah, I'm at Maine. Yeah, I'm at Maine. Where? And where's we have to find Star? Oh, he's coming. Wait, when Star gets knocked, we should all leave. Oh no, that would be so funny. Everyone, yeah, let's just do. Oh, he whacked me. Sloppy Butcher, nasty. Yeah, maybe we don't DC. He whipped again. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, he's in his power. He's in his power. No! Oh! The double hit is crazy. All right, do laps, do laps. It's like we're playing Mario Kart, guys. Oh! Oh Jesus! Okay, okay, okay. Oh no! Yeah, until he gets the 4K. Yeah, yeah, let's do it, let's do it. You're so real for that. Ring around the rosy. Ooh! Ooh! Oh, nasty with it, Ryan. Oh my god. Alright. Puta! Oh, he broke it! You freak! Wow, way to ruin the fun. Leave it to a Legion. It's always a Legion. Taking the hit is insane. Ooh, so close. Look the other way, bestie. Please. Let's do your eyes. He's staring at me. I'm sorry, Legion. We had to. We had to for the men. LOL. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it. Hit me. Hit me. You won't. Hit me. Hit me. You coward. Hit me. You won't. Oh, good try. Okay, there's another pallet to loop here. Oh, but he picks up. Come on, don't be silly. Wrap your willy. Come here. Oh, puta. Well. I know, it's because I was trying to get Ryan out. Doesn't go for the slug. He's just gonna try to pick me. He's just gonna pick me. I'm sick. Oh. Yeah, yeah. Oh, he let me go. He let me go. He let me go. Let's go. Drop that pallet if you can, Momo. Yeah, we'll lap that. We'll lap the. Oh, he broke it. Oh, over here, another pallet. Car pallet. Car pallet. Car pallet. Car pallet. He's on me. No, he's on me. That loop is too long. It's on me. Oh, he just goes for picks. It's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here for the we're here to give him the 4K. You know what I mean? That's the vibe. We'll still. I think we're gonna run another one back anyway, but this is fun. I'm not mad at this. I'm not mad at this game. I love how we collectively were like, let's just make it easy on him and run in a circle. Oh, he hit the bush. Mister, that's not me. That's a bush. Easy claps. Just grab you right off the hook. Oh, I'm going this way. There's a loop here we can take. Yeah, he's on us. He's not in his power. No! No! We lost the pallet. I'm mending and then I'm coming back. Just find another pallet. I'll come find you. Oh, I see you. Oh, he's in his power again? Like, ew. Yeah, there's. We can do basement loop. Let's do it. Big whiff, and he lost his power. Ooh! Ooh! Go! Momo! No, Momo, he's going back! No, Momo! Oh, he broke it! You freak! He is over it. Oh, where else? Look at the door. Oh, Go window. Good whiff. I'm in a resilience pull. Hopefully. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's my death hook. It's okay. It's okay. GG's. Shall we do Shaq? That was fun. That was a lot of fun. Not the Shaq. Just be careful with its power. I think you'll be fine. Oh no. Imagine I had Wigglyf and we got this. Or what is it? Born for this? What is it? What's that game for? Yeah, that one. You'll be fine. Yeah, this is the goal. Stars on hook. I know. I mean, I think this felt like a sandbag game, don't you think? Just lapping one pallet for 17 minutes. Oh no. The reassurance is crazy. Oh, because he's in his power. Take the hit, take the star. Oh no, so close. No, it's okay. You're so close. No, it's fine. All right, it's all up to you and Ryan. That's it. Race to the finish here. Race to the finish. W sprint burst, by the way. Oh, he's in his power? Yuck. No, no, no. Oh, Star, you God. You're an icon. You are the moment. Oh, no. He doesn't know when to quit. Good try. Star, you did so good. Do you have eyes still? Oh, no, you don't have eyes. He's looking for you. He's looking for eyes. Look at him. Look at him still going around Shaq, weirdo. He's looping himself. I don't think so. Oh, good try. You almost got her. Like, let's try for Hatch, I think. Methinks it's a possibility. That would kill. That would kill. This game is so fun. Alright. Truth. Manifesting. A lucky Hatch spawn. That would have been hot sexy if it did. I'd have been like, wow. This game was made for us. No, for sure. You want to try Shaq? Do you think it's at Shaq? No, it's not. It's not. Yeah, it could be in the basements, right? Of the buildings. Okay, try the basements. And then... Nice. Right there! Ryan, ain't no way. No, in the street, in the street, in the street, in the street. Behind the car. Behind the car, yeah. You almost ran right the hell the other way. I was like, are we just hearing things? So like, does Ryan really not hear it? Mostly because I work tomorrow. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, yes, it was so great meeting you, Ken. I cannot believe you made it out. That is hysterical. Clip incoming. That is gonna be so funny. All right, this is the real LG. Real LG. The Legion. He got the best of us. We had our little jokes. But this is the real one. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is. Whatever's easiest. Hatch a Shack and we run that Sable perk and try not to get hooked the whole match until the end. You too. Yes, have a good night, Ken. Good luck with work tomorrow. Work on a Sunday? Sorry. I am so sorry. All right, last game, best game. Honestly, but the last game was the best game. So, how does this game top that one? Like, we had so much fun. That game lasted pretty long too. I kind of had him there for a minute. I know he was yelling, screaming even. Oh no. Poor guy. He didn't know he was up against just four silly goofy people. Like, let's lap this palette. I will say, we had him on that pallet for a hot minute. Like, we had him on that pallet for a minute. I cannot believe it. That was incredible. I've never had so much fun playing this game until that loop. Oh, the number of times I am doing a gen and I'm watching like the killer and a person, Ryan for instance, run back and forth, and I'm like, it is legit Scooby-Doo, like in and out of the building, upstairs, downstairs, like it's hilarious. I feel like, yeah, I've definitely seen Ryan go back and forth with the killer. It's so funny. Oh, and here you come again. Oh, and there you go back again. I, I think it should just be one survivor, and it's just the the four. There are four of them, five of them, rotating. Four of them: Shaggy, Velma, Freddy, and Death. Yeah, but then Scooby could be like a charm. Oh my God! Yes, that would be so good. Or you make one of the perks like Scooby snacks or something like to give it. Where is he? It's close. Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah. The scream I scrumped. The scream I scrumped. Oh, he turned around. No, por favor. Oh. Oh. One of us. One of us. Oh. Excuse me? And you're still blinded him though. Like how? The way you got the blind is crazy. He heard the scream. He heard the scream and thought you were unhooked. And he turned around. They're all at man. There's like 3 at man. You got this one? Okay. I'm back. How is the game going? Julian, you missed the funniest match ever. Oh, where are you? Oh, you are really close to me, girl. Oh, not the claws. Oh! Julian, if you go back up, I'm gonna publish my bot right now, but if you go back and you watch last match, we were hooting and hollering. It was so fun. It was so funny. Yes, and nails, I want it. How are you doing, Julian? We'll do that. Damn, how we heard the Legion was our killer, and we all immediately wanted to DC, but they decided let's meme instead, and it became a great game. We lapped around one pallet, easy, like maybe 2 minutes. Oh, sorry, I didn't even know you were here. Oh yeah, that would be good, right? If I did that. Oh, I'm hindered. I'm hindered when I'm spraying myself. Interesting. Or when I have a can in my hand. I'm gonna go for hook, save, star. Oh, I'm like right on the hook. I'm on hook. I'm on hook. No. I started running through main, but then I knew he was on the other side of main, so I just kept running. Is it Tinkerer's undetectable? Maybe? No? No. Yeah, there's a few gens that have progress. Oh, I see it here. Señor Wesker, ¿dónde está? Oh, he just broke my gen. Oh, Ryan! I'm taking this. This is the loop. This is the loop, Ryan. Please. I'm sorry. I'll get save. I'll get save. I'll go save. I'm sorry. Oh, not the claws. Like, get off my gen. I literally didn't even know you were there either. I just watched you walk in and I was like, oh. I'm gonna go for save. Oh, I see him. I see him. Ay, puta. Yeah, I'm leaving. Oh, so close. Run, baby, run. Loop the house down boot. No, for real, I wish. Video chatting your cutie. Ooh, hi, cutie. Tell your cutie I said hi. I did a little prank on him earlier and never again. He's too sweet. What did you tell him? You were playing Fortnite? Horrible prank. You're not supposed to be doing that. Oh, I hate this. Oh. Dude, there's nothing funnier than seeing the aura of a person getting smacked up against the wall or thrown across the map. I just watched Star get pinned into the wall. You can see it on Instagram, but it was half Korean. Oh. Oh. Is ultimate what? Whose perk is that? I see. Oh. I know, I just watched this gen explode. Not there. I don't see him, I'm scared. I'm at main trying to do this blood gen. Not the screams. Never. He said you're too pretty to be next to me, and then I folded. Aww. You would like me if you were hot? That's funny. I'll wear a bag on my head. I'm sick. Dog, the claws. Honestly, I'm just gonna run. Fuck it. Is he just camping Hook, or is there a chase happening? Alright, period. It's scary. It's okay. Here, Star. Star, let me heal you. Why are we on Death Hook, all of us? Oh, he's coming this way. I see him. Go Star, go Star, go Star. He's upstairs. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Run, run, run. Oh, you freak of nature. Oh no. No! Oh my god, I almost turned the corner. We've been friends for 10 years. Well, he knows you so well then. No, so close, guys. I was looking at him for a bit. Ugh, Thatch. Don't you hate when that happens? Yeah, the accidental locker. Just waiting for you. Oh. All right, let's see how our friends do. Oh, Stars in basement. All right, we have a hatch offering, guys. Remember. No, thank you, Momo. You brought it. Yeah. Bring up. Oh, he's on you, huh? Oh, run, Momo, run. Oh, he's going through. Oh, he broke it. Weird ass tentacle. Locker. Oh, he did the locker for his power, right? For ultimate weapon. Oh, Momo. Momo, he clocked you so hard. He clocked you so hard. Oh no. I know, you did so well though. You did so good. Shaq, even though that's literally where the chase was, right? Oh my god, incredible. Well, GG. Clap if you think Wesker should suffer. Yes. And we're clapping. Yes, period. The applause. Applauso, applause. Thank you guys so much for Wesker should suffer. Thank you, Squishy. Thank you. Yeah, we're literally about to end. You caught us right at the end. Have a good night, Squishy. Thank you guys for playing. We had so much fun. This was a lot of fun. I cannot wait for the next time, but I hope you have a good night, everybody. Bye. Wow, what a squad. When the Swift makes it into TBT. Thank you for stream. No, thank you. I hear laughing. It's my turn. I had such a good time today. This was so much fun. I'm gonna be streaming tomorrow as well. So I will see you guys definitely tomorrow. I don't know if I probably will run DVD. I was having so much fun. We might return to Pokopia. We'll see. But I will be live tomorrow as well. And let me mire you. I Who are we gonna raid? Let's figure it out. Any friends on? Terry's on. I raided Terry not too long ago. Let's raid Saiyan. He's playing Rivals. That seems relevant, right? Thank you for games and stream. It was so fun. Mama, we have to play so much more. Ryan, I can't wait till we play again. Duos Tuesday? Question mark? Shout out to, or not a shout out. We're gonna raid to Thayan, and he's playing Rivals, which is new for him. And he's a vibe. We've known each other for a while. We met each other playing DVD. And now he kind of plays like Elden Ring, a bunch of smaller games. He's a very chill streamer. Puerto Rican from Chicago. Good time guy. Hey, proud of you. Oh, proud of me. Why? What did I do? Thank you guys for coming and hanging out with me today. It means so much that you're here. Star, I hope you feel so much better. Drink some Theraflu. Get that voice better. But I had so much fun today. It was fucking incredible.